Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
ABC Warehouse sent an urgent memo to presidents and CEOs of appliance and electronics manufacturers alerting them that the squeeze was on. The ABC Warehouse price squeeze. Industry leaders were strongly advised to cut prices on all brand names or be left out of the sale. The response? They said they'd do it, but only for 3 days. The 3-day price squeeze sale. ABC Warehouse put the pressure on and brought the prices down. Now get a GE 27-inch stereo TV with closed captioning, just $267 or less.
So, Matt,
Steve.
I found out that my little cousin is going to graduate this year from Sandusky High School.
Okay. Congrats to Steve's cousin.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Mazel. And then I thought, man, they're letting any and everyone walk that stage these days.
What the fuck was that?
Why you gotta play your cousin like that, Steve?
Man, hey, dude, facts is facts. That's facts, man. I'm like, oh shit, that's
shit.
All right.
I got a diploma, Steve. I don't know how much hard work went into that, so I appreciate it. He made it, you know.
He made it.
Whatever the guidelines are, he got there. So salutation.
Yeah, Sandusky's line is probably, I don't know.
He's a little juice.
No, I mean, hey, dude, he did enough to get to the end. You know, you got to respect that. I mean, high school diploma, shit, it's worth as much as a goddamn college diploma at this point. So you know what? That's what pisses me off. You know, like, man, I wish there was a way, there was like a return payment plan that you could get for like, if you don't want the diploma you got, like, you know, like this really isn't working out for me too much. Like you could get some of the money back. Like you can have the paper. Like I don't need the credential. I don't need anything. Like, let me get some of the money back, you know?
Now leave me alone, Sallie Mae.
Yeah. That's never gonna, like, Sallie Mae that's the most sinister thing of all. We can get, this is gonna be a whole episode, but congrats to all the high school graduates. Steve and I, God, Steve, what, 2 decades ago we were high school graduates? Son of a bitch.
Over 2 decades ago.
Son of a bitch.
Good times, man.
Hell yeah.
And the day that we're recording this, it's Mother's Day. I want to give a special happy Mother's Day to all you lovely ladies that birthed these big heads. Thank you all.
Yeah. Special
you are
shout
appreciated.
out to my mom, because my head, when I came out, Steve, you see the baby picture on this guy? Yikes. Hopefully there was a C-section involved, because goddamn, my mom, I don't think she'd be alive otherwise, Steve. My head, we're about to talk about a big giant head. I think I might have been the predecessor, Steve.
We're going to have to carve this lady. Did you know, Matt, that May 25th is Geek Pride Day?
That's every day now. I mean, back in the day, maybe somebody needed a celebration, but hey, shout out to those geeks. We're 2 geeks.
Yeah, man. It's an initiative to promote geek culture. It's celebrated every May 25th, and I guess it started in Spain and it spread via internet, man. So you anime fans, go watch that Dragon Ball Z. You like what? Chess, you like Dungeons and Dragons, you nerds, go have your field day.
Yeah,
watch them happen in the 90s.
Wrestling used to be. We were wrestling geeks. That was a geeky thing, Steve. I don't know the term geek now. I don't even, like, what does it encompass? Like, I feel like the cool kids are geeks.
Yeah, it's so applicable now. Like, you know, and everyone's like lining up to be a nerd now. It's so hip to be a nerd. I'm such a nerd now. Like,
no,
did you struggle getting sex in your early 20s?
Did you struggle with taking your shirt off in a public setting? That's normal to do so.
You didn't pay your dues.
Yeah.
You've been attractive your whole life.
You ever cried in a pillow?
from the mental anguish,
Yeah, just
being
the
pointed at and laughed at, called big ears on your first day
fatty.
of school.
Oh, Steve, dude, first day of school vibes, man. I was telling somebody a story about my first day of Perrysburg school. What a nightmare, dude. I think, dude, I've been talking to some people because I'm about to go back to Ohio for a couple of days, and hearing the like somebody else's perspective from our high school. I've talked to a couple people from our high school that I would never expect to hear that they were called ogres or like they were fucked with in a way, and it just feels like maybe we lived in some sort of demonic like bullying nexus that I came from Pennsylvania, and I'll tell you, Steve, there wasn't a lot of that going on. So I don't know. Maybe we were in just like some really like it was like we were put in Thunderdome, Steve. I think we were in it. And look where we
All
are
high
now.
schools are
We came out.
Thunderdomes.
I feel like you're right, probably. It's just me like dramatizing our lives, but I was just surprised to hear some of the people that we went to high school with. I was like, "Damn, you went through this shit too?" I thought your life was awesome.
But why though? Why would you be surprised?
I don't know, because I'm a fucking dummy.
They're human. Like all humans have their insecurities, man. Like some of the models that we see in Maxims and shit and Playboy, they have insecurity. They're probably some of the most insecure people. And you would think, oh, your job is just to look hot and get fucked by rich guys. Like, but like they're worried, like, will they ever hold that spot forever? And when it comes to beauty, it it's not graceful for
It
some of them.
deteriorates. Yeah.
It deteriorates. So
Like a lot of these ladies on this shirt, Steve. Yasmin Bleeth. I don't know where she's at now, but I'm sure she had those thoughts too. You never think in the '90s, Yasmin Bleeth, she's on top of the world. Nah, yeah.
if I keep doing this meth, am I still gonna be hot? No, no.
See, that's I guess now if you look at it from that perspective, then it's kind of freeing. Like as an ugly person myself, like it's like I don't have to worry about that. Like I'm aging like wine at this point. Yasmin Bleeth or those like beautiful people from high school. I mean, they age like vinegar in the sun. Just like nothing.
Vinegar in the sun.
I don't know if that even makes sense, but I think it does, Steve. I think, whatever. Vinegar's nasty anyway, but something
That should have been a Beach Boy album.
happened. Vinegar in the sun, Steve.
Ooh, vinegar in the sun. With special cameo by Uncle Jesse. I want to fuck, marry, kill. Hey, real quick, man. I don't know, man. I just got too much time in my hand, but I have a new impression for you, buddy. A new impression, and I want to try it out on the show first time. It is Adam Sandler as Paul Bearer. Oh, the Undertaker.
That's it, Steve. I mean that's a combination impression, which is doubly hard. So I respect that. I love that.
Oh, rest in peace. Oh.
I can do a one line impersonation from Kindergarten Cop of Arnold Schwarzenegger saying the bad guy's name. Crisp. We have to get crisp.
Man, sit your ass down.
Comments are still headed for Earth.
Time magazine says Deep Impact is a disaster movie that's believable. It's excellent. Gene Shalit calls it intelligent, with tension and heart-squeezing emotion. This movie has it all. And the New York Times raves Deep Impact's special effects are elaborate and impressive. 4 stars. Deep Impact. Rated PG-13. Now playing in theaters everywhere.
Hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s, the show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your Color Me Bad tapes and your Sublime posters, because love is what I got. I say, remember that love is what I got. I say, remember that. I don't cry when my dog runs away. I don't get angry at the bills I have to pay. That's where I lie. Yeah, I just stopped there. Yeah.
Good.
Let it trail off.
Sublime.
That's enough.
Yeah, it's fine.
Hate it.
Today, my friend, we're talking about all things May 25th in the 999s. Starting off in 1990, Back to the Future Part 3 premieres. Stranded in 1955, Marty McFly learns about the death of Doc Brown in 1885 and must travel back in time to save him. With no fuel readily available for the DeLorean, the two must figure out how to escape the Old West before Emmett is murdered. Directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Mary Steenburgen, Thomas F. Wilson, and Leah Thompson.
I think this is people hate on this movie quite a bit, and I don't hate it. I remember liking this and seeing this in the theater with my family and shit. And I like a western. I like a Zemeckis film. I like Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd. I like the whole shebang bang. And it ain't the best one of the franchise. To me, two is. But this one, I liked it, Steve.
Yeah, this is actually like the cast favorite. Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, and even Crispin Glover, who was booted after the first Back to the Future for being too weird. They all agree that this is the best one out of the trilogy. That was shocking because I thought two was the immediate fave of everyone.
Yeah, I mean, two to me is just like the perfection of the franchise. Like you get to go see the future, which they pull off in a really cool way. You get to go back into like whatever. We're not talking about two, but this one, I thought they did the Western thing cool, and you get all the hits of a Back to the Future movie. You get a photo that keeps changing when they're doing shit. You get um the guy, I forget the name of the bully, Biff. You get his like
Biff,
descendant, so we get a Biff descendant in it. That guy's funny as fuck. Um, I do
you
like
get
the
Flea.
yeah, we do get Flea. I like in this like Michael J. Fox is like calling himself like Clint Eastwood and shit because he gets to fuck around with that shit too, which
Yeah,
the whole thing's fun. The train scene at the end, because that's sort of how they get the DeLorean up to speed, is that they use a train to push it, and Doc Brown invents some kind of weird like explosive logs that have progressively faster uh full speeds, I guess, till they get to 77. So I mean, the end of the movie, I think at the end you think Doc Brown dies, like Marty gets through in the DeLorean, and then somehow he comes in like some futuristic time machine train shit. So and then he's like HG Wells.
with Mary Steenburgen.
Yeah, fucking through time with he has like two sons and a dog, and
And
you know
yeah, them kids are hideous, man. And I feel kind of bad about talking about other people's kids, but hey, people talked about me when I was a kid,
they look
and I'll
like
say them
kids
kids
from Children of the Corn, or the Village of the Damned, the one where the kids are blonde and just like make people's heads explode. That
or Gummo.
that for sure.
And they actually asked permission from Clint Eastwood to use his name, and he said go ahead because he was tickled by the homage. Um, I find that refreshing that he has a sense of humor. He doesn't take himself too serious or whatever. I can't say the same about Steven Seagal, and I thought they were about neck and neck as far as ego.
I said stick it in your ass.
Well, I mean, in this, it's not like they're like throwing mud on his name. He's just trying to be a badass, and that's a badass name. So
How much of the shit do I have to listen to?
yeah, I like this shit, dude. We got some gunfights in it. You got fucking Michael J. Fox doing some gunslinging too and whatnot. So yeah, to me, it ain't the best. It's better to me though, and you could probably argue it. There's probably a lot of people that would argue this. I think it is better than the first one. I don't really care for the first one too much, to be honest.
I like Crispin Glover, so the fact that he was in it that gives it edge. You
Isn't
know,
it weird? It's so weird that that guy's associated with such like a wholesome, like family friendly thing. Because when you see what the reality of Crispin Glover is, it's like that guy shouldn't be in kids' movies. I feel like,
no, at
but he is
all.
a badass. He is cool as fuck. And also, this is a weird like thing, but I just saw a clip of it. He was the one of the bright shining spots of the Charlie's Angels franchise because he was a cool villain in that.
Yeah, that's more of his lane. I feel like he's perfect for that.
Yeah,
And
like a weird, creepy guy villain. Exactly. Right down his
yeah,
alley. Hire him.
this was ranked 35 on Empire's magazine's 50 greatest movie sequels. So that says something.
Yeah, I like Empire magazine. I used to like that was like my go-to at bookstores. I think it's actually like an English magazine though.
Mm. Is something wrong with that? Whoa, whoa,
Why are you trying to constantly put a wedge between me and British people, Steve? Just because I might have said a couple of things negative about British people in the past, suddenly all British people, Matt, he's hate. Oh, here comes the Matt British hatred. It's not there, Steve. You're putting stuff. You're painting me as some sort of red coat hating psychopath, and that's just not the case. I love you guys.
I'm okay. I'm just trying to make sure some shit's corrected before we have Rich back. Also in 1990, the final episode of You Can't Do That on Television airs on Nickelodeon. And before we had all that, we had You Can't Do That on Television, man. A children's skit show. And it lasted for quite some time, man. I want to say 7 to 8 years, maybe.
Yeah, and then they would perpetuity just play this in syndication on like Saturday mornings because I do remember Nickelodeon had like this. Dave Coulier had a weird like kids comedy.
Out of Control. But You Can't Do That on Television was like 10 seasons, actually. I think 144 episodes. And this is where Alanis Morissette got her start.
And they finally did something that you couldn't do on TV, which is actually why it ended. They killed a man.
Shut up, bitch!
That's why that kid looks so weird at the right behind your shoulder. They're killing a guy. No.
Yeah, they just color corrected the blood. And I believe this is the show that introduced us to slime. The
Is this where
Nickelodeon
it
slime.
I always wondered where it came from because Nickelodeon was just like a like collaboration of just shows they bought for a while. I guess eventually, like, dude, just start dumping shit on these kids. They'll
I
love
don't
it.
know.
I always wanted to be slime though, Steve. Pause. For sure, I wanted to go to Nickelodeon Studios and get slimed. Pause. Because you never know. Back in the '90s, that Daniel, whatever his name is, he might have slimed you. That guy that was the fat dude that's like the foot fetish guy everybody talks about.
Foot
Oh,
fetish guy.
he he was like a huge creative force behind Nickelodeon. At one point, they
That
had
guy. Okay.
Daniel Schneider, maybe something
He,
like that.
yeah, he was in Head of the Class, I believe, if that's the same guy.
Yeah, exactly. That guy. Apparently, he liked to. I mean, I think there's a lot of really sinister things they say he did, but he had a foot fetish, and eventually, if you remember, Nickelodeon's logo became a foot. And to add weirdness to the whole situation, that guy, his mansion has a jacuzzi and a pool setup that's in the shape of a foot. I'm not even joking, dude. You can look it up, bro. You can. He has a bunch of jacuzzis that are all different shapes, and he has little jacuzzis that are the toes. And if you look at it from overhead, it's a foot, bro. And I'm telling you
Oh my
this.
God, dude. You
Dan,
might want to get checked, fella.
yeah, you need to go. Somebody needed to arrested that guy a long time ago, but he left and was like, "Hey, I don't what? I don't work at Nickelodeon anymore. Bye."
Yeah. Well, thank you for the memories. You can't do that on television. In
Hmm.
1991, the final episode of The Munsters Today airs in syndication. And I don't know if you remember this one, man, but look at the guy playing Herman. He looks like a
Oh,
Sherbert push-up pop.
yeah, dude. It looks like they actually just found a dead body and were somehow like, moving it like a Muppet or something. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Not everything's supposed to work though, Steve. I don't get this. I don't remember this at all.
Yeah.
But
Well, it started off in 88, and the premise is they found themselves in the 80s, and the Munsters worked to adjust themselves to the current time. So it's probably a one-trick pony. It's kind of like, oh, yeah, we're ancient monsters. Oh, what's a Jerry curl? Oh, like
what's a DeLorean? What is this powder over here? Let me smell it. That's how they came
J-
up with the idea, actually.
Jason Marsden was in it.
Oh, you mean the guy that played Cyclops?
I don't, what was he Cyclops? I know Jason Marsden was, he always He was always like the buddy character in like teen sitcoms in the 90s. I think he was like Eric's buddy in Boy Meets World.
Oh, Jason. Okay, I'm thinking of James Marsden, who's an actor who played Cyclops. So not the same
Yeah.
person. My bad.
Yeah, completely different height. I think Jason Marsden's probably like 4'8", man, like Webster Emmanuel Lewis.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
Weird. Not what I was
yeah.
picturing.
And then also in 91, the final episode of Out of This World airs in syndication. 2 syndicated shows, and this series revolves around Evie Ethel Garland, a young girl who discovers on her 13th birthday that her father Troy is an alien from the planet Antares, Prime and Scorpio Galaxy. Her half alien heritage gives her superhuman abilities, with most of the episodes revolving around Evie misusing her powers and causing some trouble, which she spends the rest of the episode fixing.
Man, there's just shows that came and went. So that's from that show right there. That's still.
Out of This World, yeah.
Huh. Out of This World. It sounds so familiar, but I never watched it. And that mom looks very familiar as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at these names and none of them ring a bell.
The mom looks like it literally just took a hit off a blunt.
Maureen Flanagan.
Maureen just fucking faced a blunt in the car and she is feeling it right now. She is torched.
Yeah. Who probably didn't watch Monsters Today or Out of This World in 1991, Matthew?
Me, for sure. But who else?
Probably your Pittsburgh Penguins, because they were busy winning the Stanley Cup Finals at Metropolitan Sports Center in Bloomington, Minnesota. They beat the Minnesota North Stars 8-0 in a 4-2 series win.
8-0. 8-0. That's a baseball score.
Yeah, there's your boy.
Dude, I mean, it was a good decade to be a fucking Pittsburgh hockey fan, Steve. I mean, I can't count how many times we talked about these motherfuckers, and rightfully so, dude. Look at that guy. Look at Mario Lemieux, dude. Also, I'd like to point out Mario Lemieux, one of the few hockey players who actually, no pause on this necessary. I'm just paying homage. He's actually a handsome fella. I feel like hockey players, for the most part, they look like guys that get in bar fights. They're missing teeth. They're all fucked up and shit. Maybe that's different now, but
they're probably a little prettier now.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, there's guys. They're making a lot of money. I see contracts for hockey players. It's like, where are they even getting this from? Who is paying to see this shit? But I guess people are. I mean, the Canadians are for sure. So
yeah, it's a big, massive land, Canada.
Yeah, but Mario Lemieux, get it, dude. And then he went off and he said, you know what, I love winning this shit, but I just think I just want to own this fucking team. So I'm going to go ahead and do that.
I can buy you hoes because, bitch, I'm rich. And this was their first final series appearance, man. They would actually hit a resurface in the 2000s when Sid the Kid got drafted, and they kind of started another dynasty. But yeah, this was their first of several. And in 1992, the debut of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Huh.
What the hell are
airs
you
on
thinking?
NBC.
Man, Jay, look at young Jay, dude. I love a young Jay Leno. Remember when they were putting him in movies and shit? You'd see him in like a denim outfit with a gun. Probably just some famous 80s black actor with them, and they're solving a crime in a movie. It's like there's no need for that, but Jay Leno was in some movies and shit, and he was on TV for what, 20 years?
Plus,
Yeah,
he was in a tag team with Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
So you got a new movie coming out.
What the hell were you thinking?
What the hell were you thinking? Like, who was it? I think it's Kevin Nealon who does that the best. You know how Jay, he'll when he gets loud, he'll like repeat himself.
Yeah.
What the hell were you thinking?
What the hell were you thinking, man? What was his band leader's name? Kevin Eubanks?
Well, initially it was the jazz guy, Winford Marsalis. It initially was him, and then probably after a year or so, it became Kevin Eubanks, and it stayed Kevin Eubanks until the show ended.
Was Kevin Eubanks involved in the wrestling match?
Yeah. Yeah, he was ringside, and I think he like helped the team. It was one of those referee has his back turned deals. I think he might have like stepped in to help out Jay and Diamond Ellis Page. Yeah,
He
he
threw a
might have threw
little
a little.
elbow or some shit. Yeah, but Jay Leno, I don't know. I don't think he just never was my guy. I was a Letterman guy if I liked any of them. And then as soon as Conan O'Brien came around, I was that. So,
And around this time, Arsenio was still going on, so he would be my first pick. And then after Arsenio, probably be Letterman. And then probably a year later, I think Conan came in '93. But take a guess as to who his first guests were.
oh God, what year was this again? 91?
May 25th, '92.
Oh, fuck. NBC. Is Seinfeld involved?
Nope.
No, I
You
don't
probably
know.
never heard this.
I'm gonna try to guess, but I have no. I don't want to like fucking take an hour. Who was it?
Billy Crystal, Shanice, and a host of NPR, Robert Krulwick.
Wow, way to light him on fire, Jay. Jesus Christ.
It's a slow burn. We're gonna start off slow. But in 1994, May 25th, Beverly Hills Cop 3 premieres. Axel Foley, while investigating a car theft ring, comes across something much bigger than that. The same men who killed his boss are running a counterfeit money ring out of a theme park in Los Angeles. Directed by John Landis, starring Eddie Murphy, Judge Reinhold, Hector Elizondo, Teresa Randall, Alan Young, and John Saxon.
I got into these movies when I was an adult. Like these, I just remember seeing these a lot. But
Yeah.
all the Beverly Hills Cop is a great franchise. I don't remember this one. I do remember the theme park aspect at the end because I feel like there's a lot of action involved, like around a roller coaster, possibly. But shout out to Eddie Murphy and Beverly Hills Cop because they don't make them like this anymore.
They don't, and they didn't make them like that then either in '94 or '94 because I don't think this is it didn't follow the same story of the previous two in the '80s, man, and I just feel like it seems like a standalone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think at this point also, like, I don't want to I'm sure they worked hard, but it's probably more of a cash grab thing at this point. You know, it was like three. I think we had gotten the point from the first two, but I love me some Judge Reinhold. I love me some fucking Eddie Murphy. I like a guy just in a fucking varsity jacket holding a gat on the movie on the cover of the movie. That's dope.
And John Landis said that Eddie tried to play against the comedy, things that were supposed to be funny in the script. He took it serious because he felt Axel Foley's character has grown since then, and he's
Oh
more
Christ.
responsible, and he's not as like slapsticky, putting bananas in tailpipes and whatnot.
Hey man, that's not what made that's not what made the first two millions of dollars, bud. This guy we we like Axel Foley. We don't need the refined. Let me have some caviar, Axel Foley. That's crazy.
Put that banana in the tailpipe, and you're gonna love it.
He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that anymore, right, Judge? Dude, whatever happened to fucking? Well, actually, Judge Reinhold was doing some shit, and he was in fucking the Santa Claus. I can remember
He
that.
played the dad, right?
Yeah, he was like the stepdad or whatever.
Yeah. And Bronson Pinchot was in it.
Bronson Pinchot.
Pinchot, Balky.
Balky?
Yeah.
Was it? Was he the guy in True Romance that was coked up?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Just want to make sure there wasn't another white guy who I always thought that was. But shout out, dude. He can
And
play an
Bronson
immigrant, a coked up asshole really well.
and Bronson Pinchot said that like Eddie was depressed on the set throughout the whole thing while he was filming because of his recent vehicles, his recent movies have been bombing, and he just brought that low vibration energy to the set, man. And it's unfortunate because I think that's what led to the whole David Spade fiasco. And he was cracking jokes on his Hollywood Minute, and Eddie felt a certain way. He had to check him about it, and he held that grudge, and it's probably still going on.
Probably, I don't knowing how people are. He probably it does still. He's like, man, fuck him.
Man, don't be talking about my movies, man.
Supposed to be brothers, man.
And in 1996, we lose Sublime lead singer Bradley Noel. He dies of a heroin overdose at the age of 28.
Yeah, this was tragic in Ohio and in
Yeah.
Southern California, everywhere really, because Sublime was just really, I think, popping off. Like right when they popped off, he died. Seemed like.
Yeah. They were just starting to leave ground, man. And, we in those dorms, man, we saw a lot of those Sublime posters, 40 ounce to freedom, the album cover with Sublime tatted on his back. And, there's no telling what he could have done. He might have collaborated with rappers. I remember he had a song, or Sublime had a song called KRS-One. So, the possibilities were endless, man. Um, never gone too soon.
Beach fucking, it's like it's good music for beach like potheads, like to me, I honestly, like, complete honesty, I never really gave a fuck about Sublime. It was sucky that, like, I always thought it was crazy how like close to success they got, and then like it just that happened. But when we were in college and shit, it was just like, it was almost like the Doherty effect. Like when he played Eminem so much, like that's why I really don't like Eminem at all. Same thing. It was just like overplayed like a motherfucker. And still to this day, dude, I live in rural Virginia. I hear that shit all the time. So they did some right. They had a couple of bangers.
And the love is what he's got, man. And in 1997, May 25th, the Minnesota Twins retired Kirby Puckett's uniform, number 34, as they should.
Hell yeah.
As they
dude.
should.
Why? Who else would like? Who else is synonymous with that team, Steve? Anyone?
Oh, probably one of the old school guys, Rod Carew.
Okay. I've heard that
Uh,
name, but yeah, Kirby Puckett, dude, was cool. I had his baseball card, was hitting dingers, and as a hefty guy back in the day, I love seeing a guy who to me, I'd never thought he was like one of the most athletic dudes, but that dude was just nailing it, bro. And he won a fucking title, right? He got himself some rings, or at least one.
yeah, the Twins won in 91, I believe. And that's considered by a lot of people to be the greatest World Series of all time between the Twins and the Braves, because each game, it had some kind of story behind it, man.
Yeah, hell yeah. But shout out Kirby Puckett, dude. Legend and cool ass name too. I love it. Never forget.
RIP to that legend, man. In 1999, A Third Rock from the Sun is airing their season finale, Big's Big Headache, parts 1 and 2. The big giant head continues to behave ill-mannered, inappropriate, and unadapted.
Yeah, and we're gonna synthesize two episodes into one because this is actually a two-parter. But essentially, we know these people: Dick, Sally, Harry, Tommy. They're aliens. They're studying Earth. I don't remember initially. Like they're just. Was this plot to like overthrow Earth, or was it like benign? I don't remember what the mission exactly was, other than to study Earth, I guess.
Well, fuck Mary Kill, man. You
Shit.
lost me.
I have no fucking idea. Neither do these guys, I feel like, Steve. They're on Earth. Everybody's fucking sucking. Sally's fucking Newman from Seinfeld. French Stewart's fucking Jan Hooks from SNL. I forgot she was on the show. They're fucking. Uh, Lithgow's banging Mary. I mean, there's a lot of sex. Fucking Tommy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's trying to
Alex.
bang. A little strange.
Or Alex Mack.
Yeah, there you go. She's about to turn into a puddle at prom. They're getting ready for prom. But essentially, these guys are aliens and they have a boss. He's the big giant head. And they're living their life. And all of a sudden they get an announcement through French Stewart, who's like an antenna, I guess.
He's the transmitter.
He's the transmitter. And they get a message that the big giant head, one, not happy about the mission and what they're doing. And he's coming to Earth, Steve.
He is coming to Earth.
I'm
Shadow
on your chest.
I am the Shat Man.
Yeah, so they're panicked. Lithgow's panicked. Not only are they panicked themselves in this little group because their boss is coming and they're about to get an F, or they've already received an F on their project and they're gonna get in trouble. But now like Lithgow's got to sort of figure out how to hit Mary about this guy who's coming that, you know, he can't tell him like, oh, my alien overlord boss is coming to judge
Uh,
me. He has to be like, my buddy from college is coming, you know. And she's like,
Stone.
what is wrong? Like, why? Because he's like on edge, and he's like, I have a note. Like, I feel like he's really adamant about her telling his boss about fucking well, which I really don't get as an alien. I don't understand that.
Yeah, he's so self-conscious, man. And the Shat Dog, like whenever he drops by on someone's show, it gets ratings.
I
Even
mean,
going back to Twilight Zone, the episode when he was in the airplane, that shit is fucking still talked about to this day. The episode where he was on Fresh Prince, I still remember that one.
yeah, dude, the guy's a legend. He's the big giant head. He's got a big giant head. And in this, eventually, while they wait for him for a while, I think he gets on the wrong flight or there's some confusion. But eventually, the big giant head makes it to Earth, and I don't know what to expect. Is a giant alien going to come out? I don't know, but he did catch a plane flight, so at least he's using mass transit, and he comes out, and like you said, it's none other than Shat Dog, and Shat Dog is three sheets to the wind. He's been drinking the whole fucking flight. He gets escorted off the flight, Steve. So this might have just been them taping Shatner getting to town off of his own flight, and they just used it. I don't know.
And Shatman likes to drink straight out the bottle.
Yeah, I mean, and he don't give a fuck. And there's some weirdness. We're gonna get to it, but he's an alien. He's never experienced Earth or having a body like this. So a lot of the comedy we get from Shatner, at least at the beginning here, is him just being like, "Oh, I love this," like slapping Lithgow and liking that, or like that, weird shit like that. Loves alcohol, loves bitches, Steve. I mean, this guy, he's gonna love Earth. He's gonna fit right fucking in, especially in the
I,
90s.
yeah, he's gonna love it here. And at the end of the first part, he named Sally the High Commander. It was previously Dick, and we start this episode off with Sally waking Dick up, and Dick, he thought it was all a dream. The previous episode, he thought it was a dream that he named Sally the High Commander, and he wants to know where the fuck his pillows are. And Sally tells him like it wasn't a dream, it really happened. I am the High Commander, and he took all of our pillows.
Yeah, and but he's living like King Sahib in the bedroom. He's got fucking a breakfast in bed of just liquor bottles most days. Living like a king, watching TV, just experiencing Earth. And honestly, like I said, I think this is more indicative of Shatner's real lifestyle. Maybe not the confusion about enjoying what a body feels like, but he's definitely doing a lot of these things on the reg, and I love that for him. But big giant head, I'm gonna call him BG from now on. Just don't think I'm talking about the rapper, but BG's living the lifestyle. He's shitting all over Lithgow. He's giving him the biz constantly. Everybody else is now above Lithgow in the chain of command of these aliens. So now everybody else is also giving Dick the business. Pause. Sally's giving him the shits, moving him off the seat. Even French Stewart and Tommy are telling him to shut up and move and stuff. So he's really being bitched out. He's getting cucked out, Steve, to use some new terminology.
And Dick he's trying to see what he can do about this. He goes into the room where Shatman is, and Shatman is watching soap operas. And he asks, Dick, what is this? It's a soap opera. What are they doing? They're having sex. I want to do that. I want to do what Drake is doing to Amanda's sister. And Dick is like, I'll call some people.
Yeah, join the fucking club, dude. Again, we all want to be doing that. And but yeah, Shatner's really he's into any woman, really, Steve. This guy he has no taste because he's never even had some real human pussy, but he likes Sally. He's really eyeing her up a lot. But any woman that gets into his eyesight at this point, they're in the crosshairs, Steve. They can get it if they're willing to.
The
So
jeans are a jumping.
yeah, so he's drinking constantly. I mean, this guy's living like a rock star. He just hasn't had sex yet. So they're moving through this. Dick's just being bitched out. Mary's trying to like keep his shit together because he's sleeping on a bed, like crying into her arms, like, and I think at some point he can't even get it up.
Yeah,
Like
he's
there's
got ED.
like he's getting bitched out so much his dick doesn't work, and that's that's terrible. So um I forget at what point, like at some point Mary goes to like talk to this guy because he's being a cunt, and he just like lays it on her, doesn't he?
Yeah, this is much later,
Oh,
and
my
like
bad. I went too far forward. My bad.
because we find out that Tommy has prom coming up and he's getting fit for his tux, and his date and his ongoing girlfriend throughout this show is Alissa, played by Larissa Olnick.
Yeah.
And ironically, they're paired up in 10 Things I Hate About You, which I remember seeing in the theater. And I can't help but think, does one have something to do with the other if they're tied
It was
for
probably
some?
like the auditions. They're like, these guys have chemistry. And my wife pointed that out while I was watching this, that they were in that movie together. I don't remember seeing 10 Things I Hate About You, but um, yeah, they're getting ready for prom, Steve. This is an important day, like and the chick super, Alex Mack is intense. I don't know what her character's vibe is in this show regularly, but there's a lot of speaking through the teeth and a lot of like storming off and stuff. It's a fiery relationship.
And Shatman, he overhears them discussing the prom, and he's like, "What is this prom?" And they say it's a party. Party, count me in. And he's like, Tommy's just like, dude, I don't want no parts of this shit. Because I think he's kind of like feeling a certain way already about Shatman.
Well, yeah, because he's a dick, and also like honestly, I'd be like, this guy doesn't understand like age limits and stuff. Like, is this guy gonna start trying to fuck high school kids? He doesn't know. You can't go. You can't go, BG. You're not allowed. But Shatner's gonna be a chaperone, Steven. He loves that idea. I love it. And yeah, but there's gonna be some problems here. We're gonna get into some like intergalactic law here soon, where I think some crimes get committed on this night. Um, but yeah, they're getting ready for prom, and I think we're pretty close to when Mary like
Yeah.
he gets kissed. So I'm gonna go to that. But like Mary she sees him at some point. All this shit's going on. Dixon, he can't get his dick up. He's out of sorts. She says something to Shatner, and he's like, "Ooh, I like you. I like that." And he just lays a kiss on her, and just she storms off. And I think eventually tells Dick. But like I said, like any woman is in danger. This guy is a full on rapist, Steve. At this
But,
point,
but the way he came on to her, you have a very pretty mouth. It moves a lot, but it's very pretty. I can't help but think or notice that you're a woman, and I'd like to do the sex thing with you.
there's some woman that would just that eat that up, Steve. Some woman that would love. I was like, is Mary about to fuck Shat? Is that gonna work? But no, she doesn't fuck Shatner, dude. So now Shatner's trying to get like at everyone. They start making fun of Sally. They being Dick, Tommy, and Harry, and they're like, the only reason you got this job is because you got tits. Like if Dick could grow tits, he could get his job back. And she's like, that's not true. I deserve this position. And they're like, yeah, whatever. Well, she goes at Shatner and says something about her job and like trying to change something. And he basically straight up tells her, like, yeah, you got the job because I like your body. I like that hot bod. So,
I thought you'd be the best possible candidate to give me pleasure.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. This is like this guy's a sexual dynamo. What kind of sexed up planet is where they're from, Steve? Is it an orgy? One
Hold
giant
that thought.
orgy? Yeah. Um, and so now
We're in the limo.
keep us going.
Yeah, we're in the limo now because they arrived, and as he's talking to Sally, he's like, "Hold that thought," and then he calls shotgun into Tommy and Alyssa's limo ride, and Alyssa, she's kind of fed up, like, "Who the fuck is this man, and why is he here ruining my life?" And Shatman has his head hanging out of the window. He's sipping bubbly out of the bottle, and they get to the prom, and Tommy's like, "It's his first prom," and because Alyssa asks why are you spending so much time with your dad's friend? And that's why he says it's his first prom. And she's like, it's mine too. He's like, exactly. And then they
At least
start
he's trying
dancing.
to fuck a teacher though. He's fucking like the typing teacher or trying to. But yeah, I mean, he went to a prom with flat out drunk as fuck. I mean, this is a crime that he's committing. We see him as this prom's going. You know, Tommy's trying to keep an eye on him to make sure that he doesn't like do anything insane. He's spiking the punch as a 50-year-old, whatever age he is, and he's like dancing. He's just going. He's a drunk mess at prom, and he's not a student, Steve. He's a grown ass man.
And he hits the stage, hits the mic, and he starts crooning to these kids. And Vicki, played by Jan Hooks, she comes in and she is just taken away by the Shat Man's lungs, his vocal cords.
Yeah,
And you know, they go back to the lockers and they have a chat, and then they end up making out. And Shat's like, you know what? Why don't you come back to my place? You'll really love the view. And the motherfuckers Star Trek the fuck out of there. But he comes back and gets his bottle.
got to get that bottle of bubs. We did forget to kind of explain, like, Jan Hooks is Harry, who is French Stewart's, like, I guess, girlfriend or something.
Yeah,
And
that's a study.
she's pregnant in this.
No,
No, she's not. I'm sorry, she's not
they
pregnant.
they were trying to.
Yeah, and they're in a fight now because French Stewart's basically trying to ghost her and keep her away so that he doesn't get in trouble from Big Giant Head for having a girlfriend and fucking up the mission. So now she's pissed at him, has stormed away from him and into the arms of a very horny Shat dog who does, like you said, Star Trek her up into the boudoir. And this, Steve, is where Matt gets a little concerned with the laws and what may or may not have happened, because we might be in some sort of Bill Cosby situation at this point. I don't like what I hear after this.
Fucking spiking punches and taking them back to the Starship Enterprise and shit.
Well, okay, so we cut. That happens, right? Then we cut to the apartment. Everyone's like kind of collecting themselves from last night. Jan Hooks fucking comes in.
Doesn't know how she got there. I've had countless nights like that. Hope I never have another one.
But like this, Steve, you never woke up and the chick's knocked up and she's basically going 6 months pregnant in 5 minutes. You know, this is a problem, Steve.
Yeah, she quickly went from announcing her pregnancy to showing. Like it was 6 months already, and then now like her water's breaking.
Yeah, and I mean Sally's ready to like pull a hacksaw out. It seems like because she's ready to like clear the apartment, and I guess like perform some emergency like alien surgery. I don't know because again, like what's supposed to happen? You're like what? Like we don't know. Like can they have a human kid? I don't know what's gonna. I'm panicking, Steve. You can tell. Um, everyone's panicking, and they're like, oh well, let's go fucking talk to fucking dickhead because King fucking Lear's in the fucking bedroom having his daily liquor breakfast, living like fucking Lemmy in his bedroom, just about to get his dick sucked, drinking every bottle of airport liquor that possibly exists in Ohio.
And Mary, she congratulates Harry because she didn't even register that it could be Big Head Shat Dogs.
Yeah, I mean, fucking Stone Phillips. She's like, fuck that guy. But they're like, yo, what the fuck? This is, and Vicky's like, hey, this is yours. Again, not concerned that she's having a full pregnancy within minutes. Like, you're about to explode, I think. And I think that one of the aliens might have even said that, but Shatner pulls what I believe he's done thousands of times. He's like, oh, consequences to sex? I feel the compulsion to run, and he runs, Steve.
Yeah. I gotta get going. That shit. Oh my.
That's his life. But I did forget that what he does also tell Dick is that, you know what? You undersold this place. Earth is the shit. And I love it. So this is gonna be the new HQ. We're gonna expand. I'm gonna do my alien thing here. But you know, first I gotta I can't. I can't. I don't want to. I can't do the child support. I gotta bounce.
Deuces. And like now she wanted Mary to deliver the baby, but Mary had to tell her, like, I'm not that kind of doctor. Vicky's just like, oh, because I don't have an insurance, is that what this is all about? You think I'm not a human all of a sudden? But eventually they do go to the hospital, to the ER, and the baby is starting to pop out. And the nurse says, I can see the head. And boy, is that a big head. That's what she said.
And that's where it ends, Steve, with screams of horror as whatever comes out. Like, there's more seasons, so clearly Jan Hooks doesn't rip in half and a fucking alien comes out of her like a face hugger or some shit. But um, a crime was committed. Some kind of internet or intergalactic sexual laws were broken. Um, Shatner's out in the wind. He's got that's another illegitimate kid for the man. Add it to the list. But this was a funny show. I can't. We say it every time we watch it. We watch 2 episodes of this. It's funny as fuck. Like, this is a great show. So
I mean, it might have been 3, man. But I like the end. They have a little bumper at the end where Newman, he comes into the office with the bottle that Shat Dog left behind, and he says, "I think his friend Stone, talking about Dick, his friend Stone left this behind." And Nina asks, "How could you tell?" Let me correct that. I'm sorry.
No, it's live, pal.
We're
correct.
live, bud. Uh, so he says, I think Dick's friend Stone left this. I think he spiked the punch. And Nina said, how could you tell? Well, I woke up in the football field when the sprinklers came on. And like,
Ugh, beached whale on a golf course. But this, what the fuck was Shatner doing to human beings, Steve? Is he the Bill
penetrating them.
Cosby of aliens?
He was penetrating them all as long as they had a hole.
Yeah,
And
that was the other part of the bumper. He's like, God, my ass hurts. God.
but believe it or not, this is Shat Dog's first ever Emmy nomination as outstanding guest actor in a comedy series.
I mean, it's funny because we use like commercials in our show that I'll put in, and I find like compilations of them. And one of the ones that I recently saw was like the actual teaser commercial for this episode, where they're teasing Shatner coming on and being like, this character. So it was a thing, man. And he's timeless. He's like Jeff Goldblum, where he's just this funny thing that when you bring him in, you know what you're getting. But this was when all the Trekkies. This was kind of like the height of his weird, like sort of whatever he is now. Like, this is the height of that.
And what a cliffhanger, man. Like, it would make you want to watch the first episode of the next season to see, like, man, how did this baby come out?
Yeah, is it a baby? Like, I should have watched and seen, but I had to pay for these fucking episodes. So I'm gonna pay. I might have to pay for season 4, episode 1, just to make sure that Jan Hooks isn't a bloody mess at the end of it.
Or I could just send you the link. And allegedly,
Wink.
yeah. And I saw on the M-dubs that Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad, he made an appearance on this. He must have been in the background, maybe one of the teenagers at the prom, but I didn't see him. But
Hey, bitch.
but also in 1999, Home Improvement is airing their series finale, the final granddaddy of them all, The Long and Winding Road, parts 1, 2, and 3. Tim records his final tool time with a host of past guests. Al and Trudy get married in Tim and Jill's backyard.
Al finally gets that wife. It's Marla Hooch from A League of Their Own.
Is that who it is?
It is. I when I saw her, I was like, that has to be that chick. And sure enough, I checked it out. This is fact checked, like, which 99% of the shit is not that I say. But yeah, that's Marla Hooch, Steve. I was listening in a fucking Key Sweat that night, smanging Marla Hooch, fucking living the good life. This episode, Steve, to be honest, I'm sort of ashamed. I teared up.
I'm a sucker for those finales that show the clips, man. When they show
Yeah.
those clips and then they play that Miller Boyette music behind it, god damn it, you can't do shit about it.
Yeah, and I mean by the like I watched the so with this was a three-parter. I'm gonna be I'm being honest with the audience. We're talking about the last episode. I watched the last one, and this I mean it starts off. We get everything we want, Steve, right away. We get Tim, we get Al. It's the last step. They're getting ready for the last step. We get Heidi looking. I mean, the word Michigan has never looked so good. It's on the shirt. She's looking fantastic. And I mean, how big of a crush did you have on Heidi, Steve? Because I know I was just, I mean, we all know Pamela was on this show too, and, shout out to the legend, but Heidi, God bless.
She's up there, Matt. She's up there. And Michigan never looked so good, man.
God
Probably the best
bless.
thing to happen to Michigan.
Yeah. And everyone's in attendance for this final episode. They have like a smarmy producer that's like sort of touching base with them that they just don't like. This guy wants them to like burn the whole set down and sort of have like this huge finale of an episode. Um Nobody
Morgan.
likes him. He's sort of the doormat. Everybody just likes to shit on this fucking dude.
What was the guy, Rat Breath or whatever, on Howard Stern? He was kind of like that on the show, on the movie Private Parts.
Oh,
Was it
pig
Pig Vomit?
vomit? Yeah, pig vomit.
Yeah, he's kind of like that, but he wants Tool Time to be more like the Springer Show. And in one of the previous episodes, they actually do a show where they stage couples fighting, and they're like coming off stage into the from the audience, and Tim is just like, dude, what the fuck? He finds out after the fact that everything was staged, and he was like, dude, I think he literally said, you want us to be like Jerry Springer?
Yeah, which is weird for a home improvement show, but
Yeah,
that was the 90s, that's whatever. But that guy's name is Morgan, I believe.
Morgan, yeah.
Yeah, he's just like a smarmy dude. He's young, he's a producer. But this is the last show. So Tim, he's like tells Al, he's like, "Look, man, we're not going to do all that bullshit, dude. Fuck that guy. We're going to go out the way we want to go out. Like we're going to make this thing legendary our way." So they do the show. They do like a quick segment at the beginning, which is just like he's basically Tim's like, look, the producers wanted me to do this thing. Fuck all that. We love you guys. And now we're gonna do our show. So they do that, and then it's basically just like a who's who of who's come on Tool Time at this point. The guys from K&B Construction that are like the all tool band, I think is what they're called, but they play music with tools. They
It's the
do.
K&B boys, the Lovely Jane, Sparky Henderson, Eddie from Eddie's Body Shop, Felix, and Mario Andretti himself.
Yeah, and we get a fucking like just a face melter of a Tool solo, where they play like some song, everybody gets in the mix. uh People are playing tools, the audience is in it. Tim and Al start lighting acetylene torches and waving them like you would like a lighter. But I gotta be honest, they're doing a lot of spins and stuff, and you can see when you're watching this that both of them are really sort of scared of where the torches are going because they're getting a little erratic with the movement, Steven. You just don't want to do that.
And I think something important that we skipped over, man, when Jill has a conversation with Wilson, and she's on the fence, no pun intended, about whether or not she should go to Indiana or stay in Detroit. And she, one more time, at least, she wants to get some advice. She wants an answer, a yes or no. And what better person to ask for advice than the neighbor Wilson, W. Wilson? And he's basically saying, like, I'm not saying whether you should stay or go. And if you're asking me if I should sell my friends on moving, my best friends move, like, I can't do that.
Yeah. And he's Zen, dude. He's Buddha.
Yeah.
He's Detroit's Buddha. And this guy, he gives her a hug. She gets over the fence. Like that's kind of the thing with, they never cross that line. And in this episode, that's constantly like that line ends too. Like that's one of the final things. So she gives him a hug. It's still sort of like it's basically she seems to be veering towards making that decision to move, but she's still like struggling with that. Cut back to the show. We get that song. they're waving the torches, even though they said they weren't going to burn the set down. Tim almost does burn the set down, but luckily they got some fire department there on set to put the banner out that he lights on fire at the end of the song. But then we cut home to Tim's house, and they're setting up like the backyard of Tim's house for Al and Trudy's wedding. And now it's Tim's turn to get some advice. He's talking to Wilson, and he's sort of first bitching about just like, he's just sort of bitching and stuff. And Wilson like asked him about the show and asked him about, I think, like the move and stuff. And I think Tim in this mentions that he was actually, it was his last show, but Binford actually waved like this huge carrot to get him to stay and like to give him like executive producer credit on the show and give him more money and stuff. But he didn't want to do that. And he didn't want Jill to know, because he didn't want her to like not do her thing because of that.
And feel guilty.
Yeah. And, Wilson's like, dude, you're a good ass dude. And he is, man. That's fucking dope. That's really like, that's not Tim the Toolman Taylorish. That's like some grown man shit.
That's a husband. That's some husband shit. And in relationships, from a person who has little experience in relationships, you have to make sacrifices. I do know that much.
Yeah,
and like this is symbolic when he's talking to Wilson, because he asks Wilson, how come we've never thought about taking this fence down before? And Wilson says, oh, I don't know. Maybe we didn't want to reveal too much of ourselves. And that gets a reaction from the audience.
Yeah, and also then it gets a little weird though, because Tim's like, your fly's down. And then Wilson's like, does it look like what you thought it would look like? And I was like, what? Weird line, but cut. And it's fun, man. That's a weird relationship, but Wilson's like, I need a Wilson in my life, Steve. This guy, I would love that.
He's probably the GOAT of neighbors in sitcom history. And I love me some Urkel, but man, Wilson wasn't blowing up the house. That was Tim.
Yeah. And Wilson, for once, like he's like almost in admiration of Tim more than you usually see. And we cut from that to the wedding. Everybody's getting ready at Al's wedding. I mean, who knew? You never thought this guy that used to live with his mom, Tim's been ribbing him for years. He's getting married. And Tim is like, all of the buddies are here, these guys that we always see that are at like the poker games and stuff. And they're taking bets on if Al's going to do it or not. And Tim's like, yo, man, that's fucking crazy. You guys are crazy. This is a wedding. But 100 on, he's going to marry the bitch. And 40 if he's got a flannel thong on, I think.
And how do you call truth on that bet? Like, how do you...
I mean, you got to make Al show the goods, Steve. That's the only way you call truth on that shit.
And I found it funny when Tim's brother steps in. He's like, I want some of that action. After they talk about the flannel thing, it was, I'm talking about money on the bet.
Yeah, I'm talking about the bet. And so that's happening. And then in the house, like Jill's sort of getting everything together. And that Morgan guy comes in with like a gift basket. And she's like, oh, are you like with the catering? Because they're having a wedding. And he's like, no. I'm trying to get Tim. I need to talk to Tim. And he introduces himself. He spills the beans on the fact that Binford's been trying, like, the thing. Like, they're trying to get him to stay, the offer. And she realizes the sacrifice Tim makes, but also takes the time to shit on Morgan and, basically just shoo him out like a piece of shit out of the house. So we get that. But Jill does realize, she's like, oh, fuck. Like, this dude, my husband is the shit. So she goes out, sits next to Tim, and is like, I think she's just like, I love you so much. And I don't know if she tells him she knows, but she lets him know she knows in a way.
And she's getting emotional, and he's like, oh, just like our marriage, like our wedding. It's like, well, at least this time I'm happy. And we find out that like Wilson is the pastor.
Yeah.
He serves as the pastor of this wedding. And of course his face is covered.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they cut the fence down, but we never do see his face. And this is a mirror situation. You're never going to get that, Steve.
Yeah.
I don't think we see it.
while the festivities are going on, Tim and Jill have some alone time, and she tells him what she knows. And she says that this is probably the sweetest, most selfless thing you've ever done. And, he said, like, I didn't want you to know. I didn't want you feeling guilty, weighing on your conscience. And, I wanted you to make this decision for yourself. You've sacrificed and you've done right by me this whole time. And now it's your turn.
Yeah. I mean, and the kids come. Brad, well, JTT's gone. He is not in this episode, but Brad and Mark are here, and they're all sitting in that hot rod that Tim's been building like for years in this show, and they're like, Jill's like, I just can't, like, I'm ready for the next step, but like, I do not want to leave this house. Like, I don't want to leave this place. She told Wilson in the beginning, like when she was young, like she was always moving and she never was able to put down roots. And like when they moved into this house, like that was the first time she was ever able to do that as like an adult or ever in her life. So like the idea of doing that, she just doesn't want to. So she's like, Tim, I don't want to do this. I just can't leave the house. And now we see the gears turning in Tim the Toolman's head. He's like, move that house. And she's like, what are you thinking about? He's like, well, I don't think, if we were to move, like we don't have to leave the house.
So they uproot the house and they hitch it to a truck, and then they get it transported on a boat. And at the very end, we finally get some because I'm watching this, man, and like I'm like, dude, you're not gonna say it. This is the last hurrah. We don't like it should be full of like he saved it to the very end. Thank you, Tim the Tool Man.
I do like also like Al's a motherfucker, dude. He's a good second in command, and this motherfucker has a wedding. He's getting toasted. It's a wedding. It's a reception. He gives his own toast, and instead of toasting his wife, he's like gives a toast to Tim, and right at the end, he's like, "Oh yeah, and honey, I love you. I'm so glad we married each other."
Yeah. Toast. Thanks for marrying me. That whole thing. I appreciate you. I feel like I would make that blunder.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and it's like a big moment, he's had this show, it's this whole thing, but I just thought that was fucking funny. And he's a great second in command, dude. Like I forgot, I don't know, it was just weird. I got emotional, but I guess like I watch his show a lot. It was just it was fun, man. It was a good finale, dude.
8 seasons, man. Like that show grew up with us. And I remember watching this because it was a spectacle, man. They promoted it heavily. This is, the last go round. And the initial airing, they had a 30-minute show after this finale that was bloopers. They kind of broke the fourth wall, and you got to talk to Tim Allen. You got to talk to the actual players of this. And at that point, then they really showed Earl Hindman's face, the guy who played Wilson.
Oh yeah.
And I remember that, he had I think he had like a portable like fence, and then he finally like
hey, the ratings went off. That was the biggest ratings of all time, too.
Yeah, man. And another finale under our belt, but also in 1999, the Insane Clown Posse released the album The Amazing Jekyll Brothers. I found it hilarious that the whole time for this album was 69 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm sure that was on purpose.
What is a juggalo? A fucking lunatic. Dude, I bought one album of this, and I like for a time. It's crazy to me that this ever was a thing and got as big as it has or ever was. But there was a time and place, Steve, where people were just loving this shit.
They're here forever, man. And I remember I said this on the show, man. Like I want to be a juggalo, but I overlooked the fact that you actually have to like the music, and that's something I just. Man, I love the idea, the cult following. You kind of made it on your own, and you got it out the mud, and you're from the Midwest. But the actual music, even with an ODB and Snoop Dogg cameo in this album, I was just like, skip, like Shannon, fucking skip,
skip. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to. There's a couple that out of nostalgia I'll listen to and laugh, but I mean, it is tough. It's crazy they even got Snoop. I mean, it's a check. You got to pay somebody to be on a CD, but I don't know, man. That's crazy they even got them. But that shows you how big they got for a while, dude.
Seriously. And also in 99, Slick Rick releases the album The Art of Storytelling. And I feel like this was a slept on classic because there were a lot of instant bangers coming out in 99 around this time, man. But Slick Rick, man, he's a pioneer in the game. And like this is actually an album that stands up today, man. Like
And
true
one of the
MC.
great, I mean, one of the few people in modern times that can rock an eye patch with some real legit style. And I love that.
And it's full of features, man. It had Outkast, it had Nas, it had Redman, Ed Lover, it had Rev Run, it had Peter Guns, Q-Tip. Basically, you had Run DMC just about, man. James Brown was in it, man. And
God, even James fucking
yeah,
Brown, damn. I don't think I remember the cover of this too. Like I do remember this being a big thing. I can almost picture it in my head. I think you
it's
might.
like
You didn't
a
have this, did
drawing.
you? Did you have this?
I never had it, but it's like a picture of him drawing or writing, and you see it behind me, but it's
Yeah,
blown
a
up.
little bit. Damn, with the feather. Damn, that's class.
And also in 1999, Lynn releases You Can't Stop the Bum Rush. And this one is famous for Still My Sunshine.
Damn, that's some dope art on the cover though. I like that.
Like the art, hate the music. But Still My Sunshine, they probably made a grip off that because this was used in commercials, this was used in movies. If you still my sunshine.
Yeah, dude, man. That was like that was like a sect of rock back then. There was that lit fucking
But
Goldfinger in that. Like there was like shit.
Goldfinger is ska punk, man.
Yeah, okay. I don't. I'm thinking of stuff that I saw at Kmart that was like around that time, but yeah, they had a couple of things, but it wasn't mine. We were Limp Bizkiting and shit like that. This was not in our view house.
Yeah, we treated Lynn listeners like how we treated kids who watch Barney.
Yeah, that's for, to each his own, but the art's dope. Whoever did that succeeded.
It seems like the Goldfinger album art is similar, but and also in 1999, the final episode of Clueless aired on ABC, and around this time, I stopped giving a fuck about TGIF. They were on their last dying days, and I find it funny that Stacey Dash she played her same role in Clueless, where the other main characters, Brittany Murphy and Alicia Silverstone, are like, we got Hollywood shit to do. You
Yeah.
do your little 30-minute, get your check, Stacy. I get it, get your bag, girl. But shit, we got Batman movies and fucking 8 Mile.
Yeah, I mean, it was just never, this wasn't for us anyway. This was like, I would never watch Clueless that much anyway, but this was not, I never even saw an episode. But Stacey Dash was hot. The
She
chick
was
who
hot though.
played the Alicia Silverstone, I remember thinking she was fine, but
Yeah, she's pretty hot. The closest thing to Alicia Silverstone without being Alicia Silverstone.
that is weird though. Like they're like, yeah, we'll get one person from the movie and then replace everyone. It's just kind of odd, you know.
No, it was just availability. They like Brittany Murphy and Alicia Silverstone didn't sign off on that shit. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like they got movies to do.
Well, but I'm
Stacey
saying
Dash,
like if in that case recast everyone and just don't give anyone a check. Then you got a bunch of low paid actors and then you're good. But it's just weird. They were like, yeah, we got one of them.
yeah, it makes it. Yeah, I see. Yeah, it makes it kind of janky. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Everybody got paid. People were getting paid in the '90s. Steve, fuck it. Yeah, somebody got paid a Clueless check. It's cool.
Any callbacks, honorable mentions, or Dingleberry stew, Matthew?
You know what? I just want to shout out to Third Rock from the Sun because I really there's two shows that I'm thinking I was slept on so much back in the day that I'm regretting, and it's Third Rock from the Sun and it's Quantum Leap. So I'm gonna go back and watch go through the whole thing like I would The Office, add that into that rotation of just watching full series because I think it's deserving, dude. It's fucking weird and funny, and every episode is like Dick wants this. I got Dick, so I love that.
especially when you bring in the big head, and I feel like there's a play on words there, the dick and the big head, and
Yeah. And also, just obviously, just a very sexual vibe in that show in general. So hilarious, and you gotta love Lithgow, Steve. We gotta. That's another '90s legend that I think gets slept on a little bit.
I fucks with Lithgow.
We all do. What about you, though?
Man, I'm gonna piggyback on that, and I needed to do the same because I really appreciate Third Rock from the Sun, the ensemble casting. They brought in familiar people from other NBC shows. They brought in Newman, they brought in Jan Hooks, and they would have a guest star like a William Shatman from time to time, and yeah, man, that's really all I got. Believe it or not.
I mean, this is a week of brevity, Steve. This is us synthesizing everything, and honestly, like we got to see a series finale and a season finale, and I think both were great. And I gotta like shout out to Tool like Home Improvement because I feel like that show could have gone a lot of ways in terms of a finale, but I
Yeah.
think they wrapped it up in like a really nice way. There was a lot of cool shit in there, and there was no like fat on it. I mean, it was I guess a three-parter, but that last one, I got to give them credit. They did it justice.
And if season or series finales were a pyramid, would you say Home Improvement's series finale is top tier?
Yeah, I could give it to him. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot to dig in there, but like, I personally, my one of my favorite, I don't even know if you've ever seen it, but the Frasier series finale, I thought that's like a perfect one. But anything where like they wrap up the stories and they kind of give you like that emotional like send off, because it's a
Yeah.
thing, you grow up with these things, and for years, like this was part of my family's like schedule. We would watch this together and stuff. So I think it is cool when you get like a finale like this where they're just like they pay homage to like everything about it. We even got like the band and shit like that. I love
Like
it.
former guest, Mario Andretti. I don't know how many times he was on Tool Time, but I do remember him and his son, I believe, being on an episode. And out of the finales we've covered, man, I do appreciate the Home Improvement. Fresh Prince so far is still up there because I mean I'm a bigger fan of that show.
Yeah, hell
Um,
yeah.
it
Yep.
that was more emotional for me too, man, because of their backstory and seeing like how they've progressed and the relationship Uncle Phil had with Will at that point. We knew how they started, and but
When we were kids, that Fresh Prince was about a kid, and
yeah,
Home Improvement was more about the adults of the family than it was the kids of the family. So I think we had more stake in the game in that way too. But both of them, like I cried at Fresh Prince a little bit, and I teared up at this Home Improvement. So is it top tier? I'd have to look. This isn't like my favorite series, but as far as like series finales go, I mean, you can do way worse for sure.
and you also reminded me, man, I need to add Frasier to that list, man, of shows that like I need to just comb through from beginning to end, along with Third Rock from the Sun, because I do appreciate Kelsey Grammer, man. I was a fan of Cheers. I watched all of those from beginning to end, and I feel like this is, I mean, it is a spinoff, probably you could say the most successful spinoff.
Yeah. I mean, and it's well worth it. So I definitely encourage you to do that because I mean that show will catch you off guard because there's a lot of seasons, but every season has just bangers from beginning to end. So it's weird. I can't believe as an adult I'm telling you that Frasier is one of my favorite shows, but it is. I'm out here with it. So
Hey, that shows growth and maturity, man. I
yeah,
don't think Perrysburg Matt would even watch an episode in syndication, but
absolutely not.
yeah. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please tell your sister she can steal my sunshine. Check out Crushgasm every Wednesday with Kendra, B3F podcast with Joey and Steve, and Don't Worry, B Movie with Amanda and Wade. This is Steve G and Matt G with Happen in
Happened
the
in the
90s.
90s.